Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at some newer Yu-Gi-Oh cards. The Reptiles are getting a whole new archetype. There's going to be a bunch of Reptile support in here. And on top of that, we've also got a new anti-meta / rogue Vjump card that they've been hyping up, and we're finally here to be able to check out its effect. But the main thing that I'm excited about is Reptiles, because this whole archetype has been needing some support for years and it just never got it. But now we're finally getting it. So if you're excited about that, drop a like on the video. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started. So anyways, these are the Abysses. These are coming out in the deck build pack Ancient Guardians. I'm not sure when we're getting these in the TCG, but let's go and check out these new cards. So so they also are known as the Meikai, but this is going to be more like the TCG name, but keep in mind things are subject to change. Anyways, Null Drag of the Abhyss. So it is a light reptile effect, level 4 with 0/0, and it says that you can only use this card's name first and second effects once per turn each. The first effect is you get to send this card from your hand to the graveyard to send one dark reptile monster from your deck to the graveyard. The second part is if you control no monsters or you control an Abyss monster, you can special summon this card from your graveyard but banish it when it leaves the field. You cannot special summon monsters while this card special summoned by this effect is in the monster zone except for reptile monsters. Okay, instantly all I can think about is King of Feral Imps, easy access, right? Especially if you're just going for like rank decks, obviously you can still detach this material, or if you really want to throw an Imperial Iron Wall, you can have that as an option too. But next up we have the Nihil Drag of the Abhyss. This is a dark reptile effect, level 4, 0 attack and 2000 defense points, and it says you can only use this card's name first and second effects once per turn each. The first effect is you get to send this card from your hand to the graveyard to send one light reptile monster from your deck to the graveyard. The second part of it says if this card is normal or special summon, you get to add one Abyss spell / trap from your deck to the hand. Next up, we have the Flogi Haze of the Abhyss, and it is going to be a light reptile, level 4 with 1800 attack, 1400 defense points. It says you can only use this card's name first and second effects once per turn each. The first effect is if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard or special summon from the graveyard, you get to target one face-up monster your opponent controls and one monster in the graveyard with equal or higher attack. Special summon the target in the opponent's graveyard to their field. If you do, send the target they control to the graveyard. That's an interesting mechanic. And the second part is if this card is in your graveyard, you get to send one card from your hand to the graveyard to add this card back to the hand. Okay, so you basically get to swap them, give them maybe a worse monster depending on the scenario. Next up though, we have the Zoha Haze of the Abhyss, which is a dark reptile effect, level 4, 1500, 1700 defense points, and it says you can only use this card's name first and second effects once per turn each. The first part of it says if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard or special summon from the graveyard, you can have your opponent draw one card. If they do, add one Abyss monster from your deck to your hand, except for Zoha Haze of the Abhyss. Then each player sends one card from their hand to the graveyard. The second part says if this card is in your graveyard, you get to send one card from your hand to the graveyard to add this card to your hand. So a lot of cycling with this. So it looks like they're definitely not going to like dealing with like a macro defisher mechanics. So that's something to watch out for. Next up, we have the Curse Dawn of the Abyss Light Reptile. This looks like we're getting to the boss monsters here. So this is the Light Reptile effect, level 8, 400 attack, 2400 defense points. You can Mystic Tomato into this thing. Anyways, you can only use this card's name first and second effects once per turn each. The first part of it says if this card is in your graveyard, you can attribute one monster to special summon this card. Then your opponent can special summon one monster from their graveyard to their field, but its effects are negated. If this card is special summoned, you get to target one level 4 lower Abyss monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. Okay, the important part is it does not stop the effect of that, so that's good. And you can just start exceeding with them, right? Next up is another, I would say one of their boss or stronger monster is Aleth, the Dusk of the Abyss. Dark Reptile effect, level 8, 2000 attack, 800 defense points, and it says you can only use this card's name first and second effects once per turn each. The first part of it says if this card is in your graveyard, you get to tribute one monster to special summon this card. Then your opponent can add one monster from their graveyard to their hand. The second part of it says if this card is special summoned, you get to target 2 of your banished monsters, including at least one reptile monster, and return them to the graveyard. Next up, we have the Aaron, King of the Abyss, which is a light reptile effect, level 8, 2500 attack and 2800 defense points, and it says you can only use this card's name first, second, and third effects once per turn each. First part of it says if this card is your graveyard, you contribute 2 monsters to special summon this card. Second part says, if your opponent adds a card or cards to the hand, except during the draw phase, you get to send one random card from their hand to the graveyard. Oh, so you give them some type of benefit, but you also take away a card. But that card is at random. The third part of it says, if a monster your opponent controls is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you get to add one light or dark reptile monster from your deck to your hand, except for Aaron, King of the Abyss. Alright, next up another Queen of the Abyss, so they got more boss monsters. Amnesia, Queen of the Abyss, is a dark reptile effect, level 8, 27 attack, 21 defense. You can only use this card's name first, second, and third effects once per turn each. If this card is in your graveyard, you get to tribute 2 monsters to special summon this card. Second part of it says, if a monster or monster is a special summon from your opponent's graveyard, you get to send one card they control to the graveyard. Oh, that's one that you get to choose too. And then the third part of it says, if a monster or monster is sent from your opponent's hand or deck to the graveyard, you get to special summon one light or dark reptile monster from your graveyard, except for Amnesia, Queen of the Abyss. Okay, I gotcha. So you can get a lot of pluses if you have all of these on the field. How realistic it is that to get all of them out? Well, let's wait and see all the support. Next up, we have the YuGiOh, Deity of the Abyss. So this is going to be their super boss. I guess this is the last monster here. It's a level 10 light reptile with 3100 attack and 2200 defense points. And it says you can only use this card's name first and second effects once per turn each. The first part of it says if this card is in your graveyard, you contribute 3 monsters to special summon this card. The first, that's the first part of the effect. The second part is once while face up on the field, as a quick effect, you can send all monsters on the field to the graveyard except face up monsters that were special summoned from the graveyard. Okay, so that's actually a pretty decent effect. Although we already had like Machina or Colonel Citadel, that like the machine guy, and he still isn't as powerful as I think a lot of people expected him to be. It's just because Yu-Gi-Oh has gotten really fast. But this is at least a send effect versus destroying, and this is all monsters, doesn't have like some type of requirement in terms of the attack, which Citadel has to like rely on. But next up, let's check out the support because that could make a huge difference. Anyways, the Depths of the Abyss, which is a field spell, it says you can only use this card's name first and second effects once per turn each. The first part of it says if face up reptile monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or by an opponent's card effect, you get to target one card your opponent controls and send it to the graveyard. The second part is if this card in your field zone is destroyed by opponent's card effect, you can send cards in the top of your opponent's deck to the graveyard and equal the number of reptile monsters with different names in your graveyard. So you can start sending cards and getting rid of a lot of cards. Okay, I get it. It almost seems like they kind of want like this to almost maybe even have a viable option out of like making your opponent run out of resources. Next up, we have Emptiness of the Abyss, which is a continuous trap card that says you can only use this card's name at first effect once per turn. The first effect is during the main phase, you get to tribute one reptile monster, then target one monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to your field, but send it to the graveyard during the end phase. Second part is if this face-up card in the spell and trap zone is sent to the graveyard, you get to send all face-up non-reptile monsters you control to the graveyard. Oh, okay, that's not necessarily a good effect. If it was like all on the field, then that would be a little bit better there. Next up, that we have Invasion of the Abyss, which is a normal trap card that says you can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. The first effect is special summon 2 Abyss tokens, Reptile Dark level 2, 0/0. If you have 8 or more Abyss monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can apply this effect instead. Special summon 2 Reptile monsters with different names from your graveyards. You can get a double. Okay, that's kind of cool. You're gonna have to be tributing a lot to get like the maximum effect. And there's also Snake's Reign, which doesn't really matter. It's not a newer card, but I just wanted to cover the newer cards in here. But we also have some other card to check out. I'm curious to know what you guys think of the Abysses. As of right now, I still think that they have some interesting mechanic. It's quite cool. There's lights and darks, so there might be like some type of chaos play with them. But I just don't see them being absolutely, just from the first glance, the first reveal of the cards, being like the tier 1 best deck. But let's go and check out the other card, as this card was definitely hyped up. It's the Chaosite, the Ghost Blocker. This is a card that they hyped up. They didn't show the effect, but we finally have the effect of it. So anyways, this is Chaosite, the Ghost Blocker. It is a Vjump promo, so I don't know when we're getting the TCG, but it's a level 4 Dark Spellcaster effect monster with 1900 attack and 800 defense points. And its first part of the effect says neither player can activate spell/trap effects from the graveyard. So anyone like banishing, that could be pretty good. And the second part is if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to target one spell and trap in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. That's okay. I wish it was like you get to target one of those and like add it to your hand or set it to your field. That would be a little bit better. I think that unfortunately they kind of overhyped this card. It's got okay stats at the end of the day, but like it doesn't have like a free easy if you control Spellcaster or special summon or something like that. You'd have to be definitely playing Rogue or anti-meta to make it more viable. I think it's an okay card at the end of the day. Maybe a great side deck card for sure, as some archetypes without being able to interact with the graveyard, they would just simply lose. But anyways, that's going to go wrap up things for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, let me know your thoughts on the Abysses down below. Do you guys think they're going to be a fun deck? Are they going to be like halfway okay, or is it going to be meta? But anyways, that's going to wrap things up. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. And if you're new here and want to see the gameplay of this, once they come out on like YuGiOh Pro or Omega, I'll give you guys some gameplay of it. And if you guys want to see it, subscribe, turn on that bell if you're new, and you'll definitely see it very soon. But take care, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.